And now we bring to you the Battle of Charleston on Lights, Camera, Revolutionary War.
The Charleston battle took place in Charleston, South Carolina from March 29th and lasted until May 12th of 1780. The battle was fought because the British wanted to gain control of the South when they realized Loyalists were grouped more in the southern colonies.
Before the Battle of Charleston, Britain had already made an attempt to capture Charleston in June of 1776 but failed. This time they succeeded. The British outnumbered the colonists roughly 2-1, so it would have been very hard to win for the colonists. The colonists eventually surrendered Charleston to the British.
The 5,500 Americans were led by Major General Benjamin Lincoln and Commodore Abraham Whipple. It all started when Henry Clinton evacuated Newport, Rhode Island on October 25th, 1779. It came down to Charleston to take siege of the city.
The battle was very dirty. There was fighting all around the city. People would die to your right and left while you had your own fight going on.
In total, 168 soldiers died, 330 were wounded, and 5,266 colonial soldiers were captured. The battle was nothing short of a loss for the colonists.
To this day, the Battle of Charleston is the third worst surrender in American history.
The American casualties numbered at 76 killed and 182 wounded, departing to Charleston from New York in June. Clinton turned over command at New York City to Hessian General William von Kniphausen.
When Clinton headed to Charleston, Benjamin Lincoln was preparing his forces for a siege. A siege is when enemy forces try to surrender a town or a city, not allowing supplies to come in. So this would eventually make them surrender. Governor John Rutledge helped him out by making 600 slaves put defensive walls between the Ashley and Copper rivers.
Lincoln did not have enough men to fight Clinton, with only 10 ships and roughly 3,000 men. Later, he was reinforced with about 1,500 Virginian soldiers, which brought their soldier number up to 5,500. Nevertheless, the British still had over double that.
Commodore Abraham Whipple helped Lincoln with 4 Continental Navy ships, 4 South Carolina Navy vessels, and 2 French ships. Yet he still did not believe that he could pull off a victory against Clinton.
Clinton first crossed the Ashley River on March 29th with the fog as cover. They started to construct the siege line on April 2nd.
On April 8th, the British ran past the guns of Fort Moultrie. This allowed them to enter the harbor. Lieutenant Colonel Banastre Tarleton was ordered by Clinton to take one of his forces and clear out Brigadier General Isaac Huger's small command at Monk's Corner.
Benjamin Lincoln knew he could not afford to lose any more men, so he had a conference with Clinton. He said he would evacuate the city if his men would be allowed to leave. Clinton did not agree, though.
On April 24th, the Americans began to attack the British sea lines but hardly did any effect. Then the British tried to attack the dam that held water in the defensive canal, but although the Americans tried to defend it, most of the water drained out. This opened a pathway for the British to assault.
It only went downhill for the colonists from here.
They were losing all the power they had physically and emotionally. The colonists were broken.
It got even worse for Lincoln when the British forces took over and possibly destroyed Fort Moultrie.
Clinton ordered for Lincoln to surrender, but he refused and attempted to make negotiations. This led to Clinton heavily bombarding the colonial lines and using hot shots to set multiple buildings on fire.
This led to the civic leaders pressing Lincoln to surrender until he eventually marched out with his army as a sign of surrender.
On May 11th, Lincoln had no other choice but to surrender. He informed Clinton he would leave and evacuated the city.
The loss was very devastating for the colonies, and like said before, it ranks as the third worst surrender in American history. This battle gave the British a bunch of confidence for the battles ahead.
And that is the Battle of Charleston.